All right, thrill seekers, for today's Friday flashback, here is a talk I gave in the Netherlands in 2010, and the people who I gave the talk for edited it into whatever they thought was important in the talk, a little short video. I've cut out the first 4 minutes because it was just me explaining how I got into Zen and how I wrote a book, but the rest is there intact, and I hope you enjoy it. Have a good time all the time. See you later. Bye. Or no, take a look. Don't go away now. Go take a look. There's no one in the world who is more innately able to understand the depth of Zen practice, just to take my own favorite example, since I'm a Zen teacher, than you are. And putting it off and saying there's somebody else who's better able to do it than me is just an excuse for not getting down to the practice yourself. And I say that to me most of all, because I know what it's like to believe that, because I enjoyed believing things like that. And it's what gets you over that hurdle, that big barrier of what to do when your Zen practice is no longer exotic and beautiful and holds all the potential answers in the sky, and when it's just you sitting down there with your legs crossed looking at some guy's back in a room. So I got into the Zen practice actually as a musician. I noticed something when I was playing, especially if you're playing on a stage in front of people and there's sort of something at stake there, that you have to be very present in that moment. And I found a lot of parallels in the practice to that. Yeah, I mean the point of the practice is to get into a good practice. I've gone through like sessions where after the third day it's all I can do just to keep in the room, you know. I really just want to leave and go, fuck this, and get out. And at that point, I'm glad to just be able to sit still and make some kind of show of doing the practice so that I don't really bother anybody else. You know, that's all I'm aiming for at that point. I just, I hate this, you know, kind of feeling. So you'll go through a lot of things, and you know, if you're that's when I start to slump, because it hurts and I don't want to be here, but usually that lasts for a certain amount of time and goes, you know, and then you're into something else. So there's all kinds of phases of practice. I mean, I can remember, I was thinking about this earlier today, actually, when I was sitting zazen. You know, all kinds of things bubble up about how when I used to talk about spiritual matters, this is long before I became a teacher of any sort, when I'd have conversations with people about spiritual matters, I would get sort of a buzz. I can remember like physically shaking, you know, like I look at my hand is shaking as I'm talking about this. That hasn't happened for years, you know, even though now it's my business to talk about these things. I no longer get any sort of that tingle or anything. So, you know, it's probably just something that's there and is going to pass. It might be it's something about what your nervous system is doing during that good posture that maybe you're not used to, and once you become used to it, then it doesn't become so noticeable anymore. The way I speak these days has a lot to do with the Zen practice. When I do one of these so-called dharma talks, I try as much as possible to... It's a weird thing that I do when I do these talks, and here I am doing it now. But I try as much as possible to stay out of the talk, if that makes any sense. To the point, and I don't want to sound weird or anything, but I've noticed this when occasionally it's occurred to me as a writer, as a guy who writes about Zen, that wouldn't it be great if I just, after I give a talk, I should just write down what it is I said, because it's all improvised, and if I did anything good, I can write it down right afterwards and maybe use it. And I can never remember a single thing I've talked about. It's not like amnesia. I know I was there. I know I said a few things, but if I sit down there and try to write it, I don't know what it was. I can't remember it. So I don't know what a Dharma talk actually is. I don't know what's actually going on here. So in that sense, it's influenced by Zen, because I try to do a Dharma talk in the same way that I do the Zen practice, which is to just not intentionally organize any of it, and just let it out and see what happens. But I'm still the same person as I ever was. So, and I've seen people who get into Zen, usually not teachers of Zen, but people who are sort of into Zen and sort of like to characterize themselves as Zen people, who will make a tremendous effort to be what they believe a Zen person ought to be. And I would, when I was beginning my practice, and still today, I would be surrounded by those people, and I would think, oh, that's how this Zen thing works. You try to turn yourself from who you originally were into a Zen person, by speaking in this way and by acting in this way, and so on and so forth. I like this practice, I like this Zen stuff, but I can't do the Zen person thing, because it really seriously, it came down to either I give up on Zen, which I wasn't about to do because I thought the practice was so useful, or I have to give up on being the stereotypical Zen person, because it doesn't work for me. And I chose to stop working on being that kind of Zen person and just get down to the practice. I'm sort of still struggling about what my position is, because one of the things that happened on the few times that I gave the precepts was this feeling, and I don't want to, if this recording ever gets back to the people who've taken the precepts from me, I'm trying to be careful not to insult them. But I did get a sense of, oh, the famous Brad Warner is getting, and I'm like, fuck the famous Brad Warner, he's an idiot. So there was a little bit of like, boy, now look whose precepts I got, kind of feeling. And because of that, I decided, at least for the time being, to stop even giving precepts. And God forbid I would ever ordain anybody as a monk, because that would probably just go ballistic. Look, which is weird to me, because I don't feel like I'm that kind of person at all. I honestly think if you wanted to ordain as a monk, you could do a lot better than me. And I have sent people to said, well, if you want to ordain as a monk, why don't you go over there, because that guy's a lot better. So I haven't done that. There are people who come and listen to the nonsense I say, and it's weird with me, because and this is a personality thing, I think. I see that if I say you are my student, I'm immediately putting you at a low level, and I don't want to do that. So I don't want to be like, I am your teacher, and come unto me, kind of thing. I think that gets in the way of practice, and I know that a lot of teachers deal with that and they just sort of overcome it, you know, and that's kind of what my teachers did with me. I think there was a question over here.
At one point you said the practice was useful, and in what way was it useful for you?
Useful?
Yeah.
In what way was practice useful? Well, I can give the answer in a sort of negative fashion, which is that when I first started doing the Zazen practice, I was kind of excited about it. It was something new, it was something cool, and it seemed to have some sort of effect. So I would sit and I would feel this kind of evenness and calmness and all the things that you feel when you do Zazen. After a while, I started reading books about Zen and reading about enlightenment experiences. I'd be going, well, I'm not having enlightenment experiences. I must be doing this wrong. Okay, try harder. You know, whatever you do to try harder with this. You know, how can you do it more? You know, it's like you're trying to, you know, whatever. Anyway. So I'd give it up because I wasn't having the experiences I thought I was supposed to be having. And that's when I saw the usefulness of the practice. Because when I gave it up, the sort of noise and tension level and just general dissatisfaction or whatever it was with life would start to increase. And the first several times it happened, I didn't know why. I was feeling so anxious and unbalanced and strange and so on and so forth. And then I would start to think, well, what am I doing differently? Oh, yeah, I gave up doing that Zazen practice that Tim showed me. All right, you know, and then I would start it again. And this happened on several occasions until I finally said, this starting and stopping is ridiculous. I just need to continue this, and I need to just get down, just understand or accept that this is something I have to do every day. And these days I kind of do it like brushing my teeth. That's why I'm making this gesture. And you don't like get up in the morning and go, should I brush my teeth this morning? Or, no, I guess I can just skip it. You just, you know, and that's the way I feel about Zazen.